I want to talk to you from the thought, in search of heroes, in search of heroes. Touch your neighbor and say, you are a hero. Tell somebody else, there's a hero in you. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Good morning, family. My brothers and my sisters, at the outset of this message, I would like to suggest to you that one of the most vivid and fond memories of my childhood was my affinity for superheroes. Growing up, I had an extensive collection of comic books, posters, and action figures of characters from Marvel and DC Comics. I almost drove my mama crazy, all of those comic books that I had, all of those action figures that I had. My room was filled with them. If I had kept the collection that I had back then, I'd be a millionaire by now. But I didn't value what I had back then. That's a whole nother message. You need to learn the value of what you have while you got it, because there'll come a day that you'll wish you had it and it'll be gone, but we'll deal with that later. The Incredible Hulk, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and the like. These were in my library. These were in my collection of action figures. And back then, these mystical and mythological characters amazed me, Elder Greer, with their ability to perform superhuman feats of strength. They amazed me with their ability to perform death-defying antics. I was intrigued with their X-ray vision, their utility belts, their morphing powers, and I felt confident in the fact that no matter how evil, maniacal, and sinister their nemesis were, in the end, good would triumph over evil. Don't y'all look at me like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all had the same fixation with superheroes that I had. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Saturday morning, you were up early in the morning watching these superheroes swing from buildings, fly through the air, do all the things that they did. And then no matter what happened, you knew that Batman was going to defeat the Joker. You knew that Superman was going to beat Lex Luthor. And you knew that Spider-Man was going to triumph over the Green Goblin. That was it. That was your life. That was your encouragement. That was your entertainment. But here recently, Surratt, there's been a phenomenon, a big screen revival of sorts of these characters. And these adaptations place far more emphasis on the humanity of the characters. And they place emphasis on the telling of their backstories. Inevitably, we find that the heroes have troubled past and traumatic events that happened to them, and they help to mold and shape their superhero personas through the adaptations or through these movies, through these new presentations of the stories of these superheroes. We are able to identify with them on a human level. And we discover that they are much like us. We discover that the thing that distinguishes them from the rest of the populace is not really their superpowers, but rather it is their ability to translate the things that have happened to them into powerful and positive energy. And it is energy that inevitably enables them to help other people. Let me see if I can fix this. In the case of Batman, we used to be enamored by the Batmobile and the belt and all that kind of stuff. But in his case, in the case of Spider-Man and Superman, it's the murder of close relatives that inspires them to fight crime. When you look at the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Incredible Hulk, it was experiments that went wrong that caused them to be isolated and quarantined. That was the genesis of their crime-fighting alter egos. So while we were children and we were fascinated by their superhuman abilities, now we understand that the thing that made them who they were was the stuff that happened to them and how they responded to it. Maybe I'm preaching to somebody on the first Sunday of 2015 who can see that in 2014 and the years before, the stuff that happened to you was what made you who you are today. The stuff that happened to you was what encouraged you to be more. Some of us have lost some loved ones. Some of us have had some traumatic experiences in our lives. Some of us have had to deal with sicknesses and diseases. Some of us have had to deal with the loss of material things. Some of us have had to deal with being fired from jobs. Some of us have had to deal with the loss of relationships. But whatever it is, these were the things that helped us to become who we are today. And might I suggest to you, my brothers and my sisters, that when you look at these superheroes, you look at them and you can see that their lives are much like yours, marked by internal struggles and insecurities, evident and external flaws. Watch this, but they are able to overcome those things for the common good. I wish you would tell your neighbor, I'm not perfect. I have some flaws. I have some struggles. I have some insecurities. I have some problems. But at the end of the day, the things that are going on in my life are the things that encourage me to keep on going and to keep on moving. Yep, I got flaws. Yep, I got faults. If you're looking for somebody perfect, you might want to look somewhere else. But the truth of the matter is, I have learned how to overcome for the common good, because here is what I understand, that whatever God allows me to go through, number one, if he allows me to go through it, he's going to bring me out of it. But number two, if God allows me to go through it, he didn't allow me to go through it for myself. As a matter of fact, neighbor, you sitting beside somebody who can bless you. You're sitting beside somebody who can help you. You're sitting beside somebody who can encourage you. If you only knew what I had to survive in 2014 to make it to this place today, to sit beside you, you would be encouraged. You would be shouting. You would be giving God glory. Am I talking to anybody in here who has that testimony, that if the person beside you only knew the hell that you had to go through, the problems that you had to endure, the stuff that you had to overcome, the stuff that you had to live through, the stuff that you had to live down, the time that you could have lost your mind, the time that you could have thrown in the towel, the time that you felt like giving up, and then through it all you still here. Is there anybody who says, neighbor, you'd be on an automatic praise if you knew my entire story? Somebody ought to shout yes. These superheroes are ordinary people with an extraordinary resilience and an unyielding determination to succeed. Might I submit to you, I'm almost finished, that resilience, somebody shout resilience. Resilience and determination are the key components in the manifestation of purpose in your life. That if you are going to be who God has created you to be in 2015, you must be resilient and you must be determined. Resilience, somebody shout resilience. Resilience is the ability, watch this, Mary Tao, to bounce back from failure. And determination is the ability, watch this, to cancel the negative effects of hardship. In other words, if I'm resilient, I'm able to bounce back from anything that has happened in my life. If I am resilient, I might get knocked down, but I don't stay down. If I am resilient, it might hurt, but it did not kill me. And if it did kill me, the power of God that's on the inside of me resurrected me and raised me back up. Somebody ought to shout, I'm resilient. I believe I'm preaching to about 37 of you in here who have a testimony of resilience. The devil thought he had you. He thought you were done. He thought it was over, but you came back. Some of us shout about being here. I shout about coming back. I shout about falling and getting up. I shout about failing and learning from my mistake. I shout about messing up and turning the mess into a message. Is there anybody besides me who has the testimony that I am resilient? I bounce back. I ain't made out of glass. I'm made out of rubber. You drop glass, it breaks. You drop rubber and it bounces back up. Where are all my resilient people? Somebody ought to wave at me and shout, I'm resilient.
No matter how much you set me back, I keep coming back. No matter how much you knock me down, I keep getting up. No matter how much I fall, I get myself together and get back on track. Somebody shout resilient.
Resilient. I'm resilient, but I'm also determined. Watch this, Elder Colbert. The word determined is very interesting. It is very interesting because the root word of determined is terminate. To terminate means to cancel. In other words, when I am determined, watch this, you might want to write it down if you're writing. When I am determined, here's what I do. I cancel the negative effects of my negative experience. In other words, it hurt, watch this, but I take the hurt and I turn it into power. Y'all miss what I said. See, here is what it means to be determined. To be determined means, watch this, I undo what the enemy tried to do in my life. In other words, what the enemy meant for evil, watch this, in spite of the fact that he meant it for evil, I understand that God, watch this, meant it for my good. So when I am determined, I don't deny that it did not hurt. But here is what I say, it did not hurt so bad that I could not get myself together and keep moving. I wish I had about 5 people in here who know what it's like to be determined, who know what it's like to say, yep, it hurt, but in the end it helped me. Yep, it knocked me down, but in the end I learned the lesson. Yeah, I messed up, but watch it, I didn't mess up so that I couldn't get myself back together. Is there anybody in here who has the testimony of being determined? Touch your neighbor, say, I'm determined. I cancel the effects of my negative experience. Woo, God. So what he thought would take my mind made me smarter. What he thought would make me weak made me stronger. What he thought would make me give up gave me a drive to keep going. Am I talking to anybody in here who's determined? Somebody shout, I'm determined. I'm resilient. I'm almost done. And I'm determined. I bounce back. Watch this. And I categorize my experiences to say whatever I went through, it was for my good. No matter what the intention of my enemy was, no matter what the intention of the devil was, no matter how the devil meant it, it was for my good. I dare you to touch somebody and say, it was for my good. Whatever I lost, it was for my good. Whoever I lost, it was for my good. Whatever was messed up, it was for my good. Whatever didn't go right, it was for my good. Whatever didn't work the way I wanted it to in the end, it was for my good. The late Christopher Reeves, the most well-known actor to play Superman, who, as you know, was rendered a quadriplegic after a horseback riding accident, and once said, watch what he said. Watch what he said. Troy. He said, a hero is an ordinary individual who finds strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. He said this after his accident. He said this after he became paralyzed. He said, when I was playing Superman, it was just a role. He said, but once I survived this accident, I wish I had a witness. He said, becoming a hero became real life for me. See, I'm talking to somebody in here who's a hero and you didn't even know it. I'm talking to somebody in here who's an inspiration and you didn't even have a clue. I'm talking to somebody in here who did not even know that all the stuff that God brought you through qualified you to be a hero to help somebody else. Nudge your neighbor, say, neighbor, whether you know it or not, you sitting beside
superhero.